we covered the single pointed devotion, and towards the end we were left with a scenario where initially Krishna or Swami or God, any God, along with all other objects in the universe existed before us. Then we brought all objects within Krishna due to our focused devotion towards Krishna or Swami. And then in our meditation process, Krishna was brought parallel to us. The significance of bringing Krishna parallel to us is that if he were in front, then our eyes would be seeing him. Here, eyes represent all our senses. So, when we bring Krishna parallel to us, then what happens? With our mundane senses, with our eyes and ears and senses, we don't perceive Krishna anymore. So it is the inner experience which has started at that stage. Now we move forward. From attraction to faith to adoration, reaching the single pointed devotion. After this stage, what happens? Suppose till this stage, in the worship stage, all our bhajan, our pujan, all our rituals, all were there. It's all wonderful, no condemning that. But then what happens? Let us visualize that we are in a mela and we have lost our child. And after a lot of search, we find our child. What perhaps will we be doing? We will be performing the dhoop, deep, arati and all other rituals to the child, or we will just go and hug the child with all the love. So at this stage, rituals may continue, but the importance of all the rituals, the importance of all the ritualistic devotion leaves. We don't leave it. We don't deliberately leave it. But then higher and higher and higher when we evolve in the devotion, all the rituals take a backstage. We may participate here and there. It's okay. Even after realization, we may participate. It's okay. But then the importance of that, all that takes a backstage. And now it's a stage of hugging our side, our soul. That stage we have reached. We talked about song, Meera Bhajan, last time, and you were left with a riddle. When she says, Manilino, Govind Mol Mair Mane, Lino Govind Mol. So we were left with a question. In the exchange system, if I got my Krishna, then what did I give so as to get Krishna for myself? Maybe Lino Govind Mol. Mol mane, I gave something and then I got Krishna. So here it is. All your love that is flowing from your side, that is what you give. And then God being himself love. So you get Swami Krishna as love. that process has started. Okay? Satya is recalling a small incident which was shared by late Mohan Rao uncle. Swami used to pester this couple to have a child. They were childless. And Swami used to tempt them. Swami used to, primary school was there at that time. So Swami used to say, I will do the Namkaran. I will take care of your child. All the financial burden is on me. I will admit your child in my school and I will take the child to the suitable college. You just leave it to me. Swami keeps on telling them. And what should be the level of the devotion of that couple? They say, Swami, all said and done, with Vatsalyam or this affection is a very big thing. So if we have a child, our focus will get away from you to that extent. We don't want a child. This is a dialogue which is going on between them. This is shared by none other than uncle himself to Satya. Up to this stage is single pointed devotion. Okay, we want nothing, ananya, none other than. But then they cross that and they move a step forward. Once it so happens that in the ecstasy of that love, Mohan Rao Garu says to Swami, Swami, perhaps I don't even need you. Maybe I don't even need you in form. But you bless me, you bless my family, that our love for you remains forever. Here they have crossed that single pointed devotion. They have moved to the next plane. Experiencing Swami, Krishna being brought parallel to us. Our senses cannot perceive Krishna, so from inner. It is the inner experience from within which is flowing as love now. So they say that form may go, Swami. And if we keep ever tuned to your form, what will happen one day without you? So you grant us this boon that our love for you never comes down, come what may, till our last day. And it did remain like that. It was shared with you, Swami went, hurried, did not wait for the RFP. Swami went to the GH and gave that 3 times water to him. And even told him that he will come back. And we don't know. Satya doesn't have a confirmed news. He gets the rumor that he is born and so, but he doesn't know. Srimad Bhagavatam gives in detail about the pranks and the mischiefs of Lord Krishna. And in the Kali Yuga, a student narrates about Swami. This is in the early 2000s. Swami is about 70 plus. And he has heard much about Swami. And there is that aura when he is joined there, and then that aura is there, and that divine, where it is total silence. And he is getting all that vibration. He is called in pride. And he is expecting some extraordinary thing to happen over there, because he first encountered with divine incarnation, Purna Avatar. What is going to happen? What Swami is going to give? with that suspense, with expecting something huge to happen. He enters Tribal Vrindavan. Swami is in 70s. What happens there? Like we do to make our child or someone afraid, we jump from somewhere. Swami jumps from the backside of the door in his 70s and says, "Boo!" That is our son. That is our God. When he does that, what happens? He gives us the experience that this is my Lord. This Lord is not separate from me. This Lord is not having on that wall far away from me. He is my Lord. I have been given this boon in this yuga to love this God, and He is mine. That is our soul. Let's glide to the moonlight and twilight in Vrindavan, where the Rasa Leela is going to start. Let's not be in this world at all for the next some minutes. That's my request. It was an autumn night. Lord Krishna played the flute at night on the banks of the Yamuna. There was charming moonlight. It delighted the hearts of the gopis. They rushed forth to the place where their beloved Krishna was. Their minds were absorbed in Krishna. Krishna says, "Go back to your homes. Look after your husbands, parents and children." The gopis cry out, "O Lord, we have given up everything for Thy sake. We have sought Thy feet. Do not forsake us. Thou art Thyself the goal of all religious injunctions." Tears rained down their cheeks. All their thoughts were directed to Krishna. They talked of Krishna alone. They were full of Krishna. They went to the bank of the Yamuna and sang in a chorus about Krishna and prayed fervently for his return. The songs were really touching. Krishna appeared with a smiling face. The gopis rejoiced. Their pangs of separation ceased. Then Krishna danced with gopis. On either side of him there was a gopi, and there was a Krishna on either side of a gopi. The gopis formed a circle. Krishna, the Lord of Yoga, was in between every two of them. Radha or Radhika is the chief of the gopis. She made Aradhana of Krishna. Radhika means literally one who makes Radhana or Aradhana. She was an embodiment of love. Radha is an embodiment of Lord Krishna himself. Radha and Krishna are inseparable like heat and fire. Rasa Leela is a divine sport with the devotees for bringing about their union with the Lord through prema or pure divine love. Rasa is the sweetest juice of prema. It is the manifestation of divine love or higher emotion which takes the devotee to the magnanimous height of holy communion with the Lord. It is said, it is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Parikshit, when he is hearing all this about the Rasa Leela from Sukha, he is asking, monkey mind, he is asking, Lord Narayana having incarnated as Krishna, how he can play with so many gopikas like this monkey mind? And that monkey mind of so many painters portray some other meanings to this Rasa Leela. Sukha condemns Parikshit lovingly and say, what do you think, whom do you think Krishna is? Krishna is Narayana, he is Avatar. And all these gopikas were sages in some previous era. They have been longing for this one night. And Bhagavan is giving them, granting them this love. Don't look at this from your worldly eyes. This is far, far beyond. In the last talk, there was a talk on Srimad Bhagavatam by Lakshmi Narayana Shastri, where he says 14 years something and the Swami corrects him, 8 or 10 years. Krishna. Those who have understood Rasa Leela in Srimad Bhagavatam, they have understood what prema really means, what love really means. Those who have not understood Rasa Leela, they have not understood what prema really means. All the devas, Indra, every one of them, they are watching this tears running down their cheeks, this divine play of Krishna. Epitome of pure, divine love. A satsang on love, and how can Meera be left out? From that Vrindavan, now we move on to the Meera's era. We touched upon Meera's childhood in the last satsang. We learned how watching a marriage procession, Meera is asking to her mother where his groom is, and then her mother gives an idol of Krishna, Gopala, and says, "This is your husband." And from that moment onwards, literally, Krishna is treated as her husband at a higher sense. And then we all know, we are not going to get into the detail, it was covered in the last satsang, how her love for Krishna, after attending to all the house chorus, even that was not tolerated by her in-laws. She was given poison, she was tortured, tormented, she stood by everything like a lighthouse. And then she continued with her love for Krishna. And a stage comes when she is asked to get out of the palace. And then she goes to Vrindavan. It's said, there are various stories of Meera, but in one of the stories it is said that not even mindful, not even conscious that she is drowning, she is just walking on the Yamuna river, she is about to drown, when an invisible hand holds, Krishna's hand holds her hand, and then a whisper is heard, come to Vrindavan. She goes there. And about her that era, that period as queen, it is said, so many Ranis, so many Kumaris and Maharanis have appeared on the stage of this world and vanished. How is that the queen of Chittor alone is still remembered? Is this on account of her beauty? Is this on account of her poetic skill? No. It is on account of her total renunciation and total love for Krishna and her God realization. She came face to face with Krishna. She conversed with Krishna. She ate with Krishna. She drank the Krishna Premarasa. She has sung from the core of her heart the music of her soul, the music of her beloved, her unique spiritual experiences. And she has sung songs of surrender and prema. She immersed herself in the love of Giridhara Gopal. The name of Gopala was always on her lips. Even in her dreams, she lived and had her being in Sri Krishna. She was sunk in the ocean of prema. She had no consciousness of her body and surroundings. Those who came in contact with her were affected by her strong current of prema. She taught the world the way to love God. We move from that era to the era of Sai Krishna. This is about a beautiful, inexpressible love shared between Swami and a student. Swami asks one of the singers, the name is not given here, and told him to sing his Veera Bhajan. Krishna, 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 Darshan Dijo, Aao Pyare. Dearest Krishna, come and grant your darshan to me. Something magical happened. Swami began to sing along with him, word to word. Swami also told the other singers to join in the song. It is one thing for the devotee to sing out to the Lord, but to have the Lord reciprocate in the same measure, with the same intensity, is not something everyone gets a chance to see, because the Lord is a silent love. But today was a special day. Swami sang along. Every word in the same tune, Swami sings. Life without you, for me, is like a lotus without water, a moon without the moonlight. How can I stay happy without seeing you, my beloved? As he sang, Swami's face became emotional. The intensity of feeling of the Lord for the devotee, the master for the disciple, seemed to be echoed in his words. Ah, the bliss of that vision of the Lord pining for the devotee can never ever be suitably described. On another occasion, Swami is explaining the last line of the song to that singer. Swami says, Mirabai feels that her life is worthless if she is unable to have a glimpse of her Lord Krishna. She rushes to the threshold of the sanctum and begins to bang her forehead on it. She implores to Krishna that she is his servant forever and curses her mind and intellect that are blinding her to her heart where her darling resides. She continued to bang her head. As Swami explained this to that boy, Swami moved his head vigorously to show how Mirabai banged her head. He seemed to be totally lost in Mira's devotion. He continued to say, instead of death, she gets the vision of Krishna. She feels she cannot live without Krishna, but even Krishna cannot live without her. And there is a tear in the divine eye. Another occasion, Swami says to that singer, you have to feel like Mirabai. You must have that intensity of love. It is not seen at all on your face. Student is helpless, he says. Swami, you are the one who filled Mira's heart with love divine. You must fill my heart too in the same way. Then alone will I be able to have that intensity. Next day the student sings, Swami is again taunting that student. You got so many feelings on your face, but there is not a single tear on your eye. He pointed out much to that student's embarrassment. Only if you feel like Meera, can you sing like Meera. This taunting of Swami continues only to bring in that Meera's love in that student. And then on that one beating, what happens? Swami asks the same singer to sing the same Meera bhajan. The student sings with intense feelings. He was not in that world. He was not knowing what is happening in front of him. He opens his eyes and he sees that Swami was indeed looking deeply into him. Both eyes met and the student realized what he had been missing all this while. In an instant, he realized that the Lord's pining for his devotee was as intense, if not greater than the devotee's pining for him. And here was his beloved Swami, looking with all love and pining deep into his eyes. That was me. That was enough to well up tears in the student's eyes. Out of the blue, an eternal spring of love and pining sprouted in his heart. As tears flowed down his cheeks, his vision became blurry. His voice choked and he was unable to sing. But he continued because his Swami was listening. As he wiped his tears, what did he say? There were tears flowing down the Lord's cheeks too. Those blobs of divine liquid were falling onto the robe and blotting it. That brought a fresh burst of tears from the students' eyes, and those in turn did the same to Swami's eyes. Swami was the first to wipe away his tears. He looked at one of the elders and said, "Now the situation has to be changed, because then neither Swami nor that student, nor other students, nor the audience will be in control at all." Like in the Jakatavdharana Bhajan, Samarpan Bhajan interpretation, there is a line where it is mentioned, after granting you liberation, after granting you self-realization in the path of bhakti, Swami comes and asks, when you are seated there, who are you? From where you have come? What is your name? That is described in the context of that Sundara Nayana Vira. Here, to change the situation, which was getting totally out of control, Swami says, "Give me that gold-plated watch from inside. If I don't give this boy something, he will not stop crying." Immediately there was laughter. The singer stopped his song and his tears. Swami gifted him that beautiful golden watch. Though he got the watch, the moment of great joy, blessing and divine peace, when his gaze had met the Lord, spoke. All along, what was happening in the whole scenario? Let us imagine all of us, including the one who is talking, let us assume that we are that mirror, and Swami is seated here in the Singhasana. And our incessant love is flowing towards Swami. And what has happened? The entire hall has become a vast ocean of love. In that, neither we are there, nor Swami is there, nor our tears are there, nor is the process of love, nor are the songs, neither is singing, nor are the percussions. All that is existing is that Prema Sagara, is that ocean of love. Swami had to grant that occasion, that gift to that student. All the taunting, all the scolding was to pent up, to bring that feeling in that student. Where in the path of love, the Bhakta, the Bhagavan, and the process of Bhakti all are dissolved in that ocean of love. Exactly in the same way in the path of Jnana, the meditator, the object of meditations, and the process of meditation, everything dissolves in that ocean of Ananda, bliss. That was what was happening. And all that had happened was for the culmination of that. Coming back to Nayana Nayana, we now move a step forward with the ultimate in the Nayana Nayana to happen in the next, possibly in the next or the next to next round. The recap is that we have in our intense focus on Krishna, on God, on Sai, all the objects, when he says all the objects are merged into Sai, that means the relevance of all other objects is gone. Only one object remains, that is Krishna. And then we have brought that Krishna parallel to us. Now it is the time for the next thing to happen. Krishna is touching us. Krishna is very close to us. And Krishna gets into us. Now, when the eyes open, after Krishna has entered us, then how will we see the world? How that 99 that is kept for the next. Referring to Bhikshupada Prasarana Seva, what has happened? Krishna has not only occupied the mansion of our heart, but he has removed every silly things from that mansion, from that Hridaya. All other things are gone. And only Krishna is existing. Not as Krishna, but as prema, as love. He is occupied. He will never leave now. प्रेम ईश्वर है, ईश्वर प्रेम है, ईश्वर प्रेम है, प्रेम ईश्वर है, हर धड़कन में साई समा है, ईश्वर प्रेम है, प्रेम ईश्वर है, ईश्वर प्रेम है, राम रहीम बुद्ध करीम ज़ोराष्ट्र नानक, कोई भी नाम जपो रे मनवा, ईश्वर प्रेम है, मनवा कोई भी नाम जपो रे मनवा, ईश्वर प्रेम है, प्रेम ईश्वर है, ईश्वर प्रेम है। हर धड़कन में प्रभु समाया है, साईं समाया है। You start with Rama, you start with Krishna, you start with Zoroaster, you start with Buddha, Nanak, anything. Any religion, any name, you start with the adoration. If you get stuck up in the third stage, adoration, or even the better stage single pointed devotion, your journey is halfway complete. Only when you move to this devotion transform into love, then the Ramas and the Krishnas and the Sais and the Buddhas and the Zoroastras and the Nayaks, their names leave us. It doesn't undermine them. They are now in a very grand, most grand state of existence as love within us. कोई भी नाम जपो रे मनुआ, ईश्वर प्रेम है. If we have not realized God as love, and if our heart doesn't throb every minute, every pulse of us, it does not sing the song of love, then the journey is complete. We will have to be born again and again, again and again in the path of devotion. A scenario was shared in the path of knowledge where a disciple of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, while teaching, you will remember, but it's worth a recap, quick. He has been teaching the disciple Dasoha, and one day the master starts chanting Soham, Soham, Soham. This is given by Swami. And then he says, the Chittachora came last night and he stole, like he is the Makanachor, he stole that Dasa from me and left only with Soham. Similarly, here, how magnanimous is this incarnation. If anyone was worshipping us, or if anyone was praising us, appreciating us for lifetime, we would want that to continue. We would be so happy about it. Though we may say inside we will be very happy if someone appreciates us. That's our weakness, that's our ego. Here is the Lord who comes and steals what? Here in the Prem Ishwara head. He has stolen his name and form itself. Who else but a God can do this? He has removed his name and form from the devotee's heart and he has filled that heart with love. In the famous Arati, couple of minutes we'll take. In the famous Arati, there is a line. तेरा तुझको अर्पण क्या लागे मेरा ओम जय जगदीश हरे. When we sing this, what is the implied meaning? Tera tujhko arpan. Every prasad, dhoop, deep, garlands, whatever we offer to Bhagavan, can we say in this world any matter which is not his creation? When the 5 elements are created by him, and every other thing comes out of that 5 combination of more than 2 of those 5 elements, everything in the matter, everything is his creation, and we are offering his own creation to him. Not to undermine that, we are saying that it is not mine, tera tujhko arpan kya lage mera. But then there is one thing which we can offer which is not created by him. What is that? He Shivalinga Dhari Baba, He Ananda Dai Baba, Prema Dakshina Svikaro Bhagavan, Bhartipuri Sai Deva. प्रेम दक्षिणा स्वीकारो भगवन भक्तिपुरी साई देवा. Prema is not created by him. Prema is not created out of 5 elements. Prema is him. Prema is his existence. Here when we say come back to Tera Tujhko Arpan, it is not the matter that we are offering to him. We as love, through the process of love, in and as love, is offering our love to the God who is love. And the God accepts. Because it is nurtured. And Swami is seated here as though boxes his ears and says, you don't have to go that complicated with so many love in the flow. I have given in a very, I am very simple. I am not understood by Swami. We all understand Swami in our own ways, with our own limited vasanas. Swami is far beyond everything. Swami says, I have given it in such a simple, you are trying to complicate the whole thing by using so many love. I have told you, God is love. Live in love. Finish. Don't know if we are moving to the next supreme love for his creation, or intuitively it comes from within to share more of this. Only Swami knows as of now. Oh.